Hello and welcome to Commonwealth Politics. My name is Mike Krasanik.
And I'm Mark Kemper.
Today we're going to talk about a subject that we've addressed a couple of times here on Commonwealth Politics, but it continues to be an important one, and that is casino gambling. But what's happened here recently in Massachusetts is that there is now legislation that has been signed by the governor to permit casino gambling and so-called destination resorts here in Massachusetts. A gaming commission has been put together, and we're starting to see the Las Vegas hotel moguls and other corporate lobbyists come into the state to try to advance their vision of what gambling and casino hotels might look like. So to help us sort all this out, we have from New Bedford, Democrat Representative Bob Koczera with us. Representative, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks.
And we'll go to Mark Kemper for our first question.
Thanks for coming today, Representative. Let's start off with just a broad question for our viewers in terms of where we're at right now. We know, as Mike mentioned, we have this gaming commission. What's the purpose of this gaming commission?
Well, the gaming commission is the ball game. They're charged with organizing the bid process, setting forth the regulations and the rules that will govern the operation of not only the three designated casinos at the various regions, but also the slot facility for the state. And we're in the process, after the long-awaited compromise on gaming legislation, expanding gaming in Massachusetts, of organizing that gaming commission. By law, the responsible officers have to designate their members to the gaming commission, I believe by sometime in March of 2012. The governor has named Steve Crosby, a former state official with the Swift administration, as Secretary of Administration and Finance, and I think the dean of one of the graduate programs at UMass Boston, as the chairman of the Gaming Commission. And this appointment is widely received because he had served Republican and Democratic administrations, and he has credibility as well as integrity, and integrity you have to underscore in this process. We're awaiting the selection from the State Treasurer, Steve Grossman, and Martha Coakley, the Attorney General. Now, they are charged with having members that have specific backgrounds. In other words, I believe that Martha Coakley has to have someone that has a legal background, and Steve Grossman, someone that has a business, preferably an accounting background, and they get to make these appointments on their own. They're faced with a deadline of late March. Then both the governor, the Attorney General, and the State Treasurer will select. They have a firm that they've taken on to screen likely applicants, and the three of them will vote to appoint the two remaining members to the Gaming Commission. Once the Gaming Commission is constituted, they will be making decisions in terms of an executive director and the number of staff that they're going to need, from legal staff to research and number crunchers. They have two main missions as I see it. One is they have to establish the regulations by which the slot facility and the casinos will operate, and then secondly, but the first activity will be to write the request for proposals and the procedures by which those proposals will be reviewed and evaluated, and a determination made to issue a license to the successful bidder. So hopefully not too long-winded, and an opportunity to you to come back with any follow-up questions, but that's the long...
A whole lot of questions that I would have. What are the three areas? What are the three regions that are specified?
Fair questions. They're arranged by counties, with the westernmost counties comprising one district. I forgot what regions. They go A, B, and C. I do know that the southeastern region, which is Bristol and Plymouth counties, and then the Cape Cod counties and the islands, are Region C. And then you have the Worcester, Boston area, and North Shore, which is comprises the third region. Now, we don't know what order the RFPs will be issued and when licenses will be awarded. This will be left up to the commission. One of the things that the legislature did, and it was a smart thing that we did to make sure that it's above board and that there's no favoritism, no cronyism, and absolutely no corruption, is we've charged the Gaming Commission with the responsibility. We put in, I believe, strong enforcement tools, both with the Attorney General's office and with the Gaming Commission. Hopefully, people will say of the Massachusetts operation that it's modeled very closely on New Jersey's, which is highly successful. Has been in operation for 30 years, and to my knowledge, there's been no disrepute, no incidents at all involving any kind of cronyism or favoritism.
Representative Koczera, one thing that you hear a great deal about, Mark asked about the three regions, and you mentioned them, so 3 casinos and 1 slot
Yes.
casino, so to speak. But there's also the Indian casino out there. How does that fit into this whole? It wouldn't be the 4th casino. It would replace one of the 3. Is that? Do I have that right? If it ever happens,
you do. Let me put it this way. This piece of legislation that was passed last year is a result of a compromise. It's a compromise between the legislative leadership and the governor. Clearly, there weren't votes in the Senate to override any kind of gubernatorial veto, and I'm not sure that you would necessarily have that in the House of Representatives. So it represents a compromise. And the compromise is the governor saying, I am not going to sign any bill expanding gaming in Massachusetts unless you meet 2 conditions. The first condition is that I will only sign into law legislation that allows for 1 competitively bid slot parlor. No handoff to the existing racetracks, just 1. And the second condition was that he felt that the federally recognized Native American tribes in Massachusetts have rights under the federal law under IGRA, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, that was passed in the 1980s. And he felt it's in the best interest of the Commonwealth to carve out language in the bill that would allow them to operate a casino under IGRA. To do so, he would have to enter into negotiations and conclude a compact with the tribe. He is of the opinion, other governors were not, he is, that the legislature should have a vote to ratify the compact. I happen to agree with him on that. His feeling is that he feels that in good faith, the federal government would accept this. Now, this is problematical in that if we have a compact negotiated and approved by the legislature and a vote schedule in the host community that the Indian tribe wishes to locate, by July 31st, then there would be a period of time at the discretion of the Gaming Commission in which they can put this land, or seek to put this land in trust with the federal government. Now, the problem is the Koczera decision, named after the governor of Rhode Island, that basically says that the federal government cannot put land in trust for any federally recognized tribe that was not recognized by, say, 1934. There are people on both sides of this issue that will argue that, oh, no, you can do it, and oh, no, you can't. But it is a Supreme Court decision, and the only way this is going to change is going to be an act of Congress. My personal feeling is that I don't believe they're going to cleanly be able to put that land in trust. I believe there will be lawsuits that will cloud what we sought to do in this bill.
And could probably drag this on for years and years and
Right.
years.
Right. There are others that believe that it will come to closure and that the Indians will be able to construct their casino and it will be taken into trust. If we do conclude a compact and it is approved and there is a vote scheduled and the issue is pending in Washington and the Gaming Commission comes to the conclusion, because they have to do periodic reports to the Gaming Commission, that the likelihood of a casino being built is negligible, then they can go ahead and put this out to bid. If there is no compact and they do not meet the deadline by July 31st, and as of now, we have not heard of any site that they are proposing. Supposedly they're having discussions. If there is no compact, then the Gaming Commission, by the end of this year, will have to go and put an RFP out for the southeast region of the state.
And there's no wiggle room on that July 31st date.
No, it's in the law, and there's no, there's no, even if a compact is concluded with the governor, that doesn't mean that the legislature is necessarily going to adopt it. Right. I mean, I'd want to look at what he's saying. I had spoke to some of the people in the administration who had been active on this issue, and I said, is there any way that pending in lieu of federal recognition, that they would agree, and we'd put this in the compact, that they would operate as a commercially licensed facility? And they seem to discount that. But we'll see how the compact is written, and we'll have to take things one at a time. And there might be something that will happen that will be definitive on that, but I think that there's concern because from my standpoint, the concept of 3 regional casinos means that the economic benefit that's derived from expanding gaming in Massachusetts will be shared throughout the state. The economic benefit are the jobs that are created by these casinos. They're good-paying jobs that fill a need in outlying areas of the state in southeastern Mass and in western Mass that have been hard hit with plant closures and high unemployment. So, I see this as a positive, but I'm concerned about the Indian carve-out, if you will.
Well, I want to just follow up really quickly on that because, as you mentioned, there isn't any indication that they're close to negotiating a deal with any town at this moment, and then the town has to approve it. The legislature usually doesn't do much in June and July, so I mean, we're looking at a really tight window here.
I want to take you
except Representative Koczera, who's working hard all the time.
In terms of legislate.
Well, to be honest with you, after the budget, I believe the House will be taking up a health care cost containment bill, which will not be without controversy and great interest by the health care provider community. But I understand what you're saying is that there is a short period of time, and it's usually a crunch time in terms of all kinds of legislation, the little bills and the big bills, so to speak. So it does make for a tight window. Of course, it's just an up or down vote for ratifying the compact, but someone like myself who comes from the southeast region and saying, hey, there are jobs at stake. I don't want southeastern Massachusetts left out, hung to dry. I want our people to have an opportunity at obtaining employment and easing the area's high unemployment rate. So it does not look, the longer they delay, the longer they're not coming forth, a local community wants to have questions answered. The local government of that community, of that municipality, is going to say, hey, what about police? What about fire? What about traffic? What about, any concerns that happen in terms of medical emergencies or any other incidents that take place? They will have impacts on the road and on the services that town provides. So there should be an airing of that and not a rush to judgment. So it would behoove the tribe to disclose in an open and transparent fashion that, well, we're looking at this community and you know, the governor's ready to go. The governor's ready to negotiate, and for all we know, they might be doing that at this point. But the public's in the dark. And right now in Foxborough, there's a group organized against the proposed casino there, and they're all up in arms because they found out that one of the members of the Board of Selectmen knew before the public announcement that Bob Kraft was going to go and partner with Steve Wynn and propose a casino, and this was not revealed to the town. So, you know, those are issues that, if you're in public life, you have to be sensitive to. The public has a right to be informed and be informed timely, and not at the last minute. There's an arrogance there of, well, oh, this is going to be such a great thing, how can you say no? Be surprised what people will come up with in terms of questions.
Representative, one of the issues that's always out there when we come to the casinos, especially now in this kind of down economy, is that the revenue stream that we realistically could expect from 3 casinos and one slot parlor. There's been some questions about Foxwoods and the downturn there, and Mohegan Sun, and that we've overbuilt now in the region, Maine, Rhode Island. Are you confident that we're on the right path here in terms of gaining significant revenue that will, I mean, the jobs are going to be there, there's no doubt about that, but it's the revenue that will come to the state and the communities.
Short answer is yes, but...
Well, and to follow up is, can the state support 3 destination casinos along with a slot?
The studies that I've been exposed to have said that there is still a good market in New England, that we could have up to 3 casinos and 2 slot parlors in Massachusetts. We don't know what New Hampshire is going to do. Clearly, had we passed this legislation in 2007, these licenses alone would be worth $200 million or more. The threshold, I believe, in the legislation, I think, is a $150 million minimum bid and a minimum of investment of $500 million, because they're resort destination casinos. But to answer your questions, I mean, they project a revenue stream of $300 million. I think they're projecting that on the conservative end. I think the question that you really want to ask is, well, what are we going to do? Take that $300 million, put it into the $32 billion budget, and then be worse off on another downturn. And what we're doing is we're putting that money away in various funds in terms of higher education, in terms of employment training, in terms of local aid. For instance, if a slot facility is awarded a license, all the proceeds from the slot facility go unrestricted local aid to Massachusetts cities and towns. It will complement the revenues that cities and towns receive from the lottery. And part of the revenues from the casino will go also to unrestricted local aid, as well as aid for education and a multitude of reasons, of earmarked fundings. I think there's a realization that, like capital gains revenue, it can spike and then it can implode and disappear on us, so that we have to be careful in terms of building it into our operating expenses. Unfortunately, when we give it for local aid, that's exactly where it's going. But I think that the revenue estimates that were associated with the legislation are on the conservative side. They're for earmarked purposes. They will go into funds that will be drawn down more in terms of sort of like looking at them as long-term, one-time type expenditures, like you have a fund to go and repair your house, and you put a new roof on and it's good for 20 or 30 years. You put new windows on and it's going to be good for 40 years, and that will take care of things. And I think that's the way we're looking at the majority of the proceeds from gaming revenues to go. We have to have some way that we don't just put it into the budget and spend it, because then we'll be no better off than what we are right now.
I mean, I know, I mean, it's a bit late in the day to be bringing this up, but I mean, how much of that, from my understanding, it's a substantial percentage of that $300 million in revenue will be on the backs of problem gamblers, right, who now have to go to, Connecticut to gamble the family savings away and the school lunch money away. Now it's in our backyard, and problem gamblers are going to be sitting there losing money. And my understanding, it can be up to 30 to 40% of the overall revenue can be from essentially compulsive gamblers. And I know there's some of that funding that's devoted to dealing with problem gambling, but we all know that that's going to be an issue. And is this what we want in the state? I mean, are these the kinds of jobs that we want, or what could we do for manufacturing and technology and things like that?
Listen, I want to speak, I don't think out of turn on Congressman Frank, but I listened to Congressman Frank speak and others, and this type of activity is going on now. I think the most egregious point that was made in this debate was the fact that you have Massachusetts residents going out of state to game, and that this libertarian view that increasingly is coming to the fore is that gaming is all around us. It's taken root in Delaware and in Pennsylvania and countless other states. There is a market for it here, and we're losing revenue, and there are lost job opportunities. So I think that to the extent that you have a problem gambler problem at Mohegan Sun or Foxwoods, and they're Massachusetts residents, we own them. They're our residents. Now, if we put it in our backyard, do we exacerbate that? And maybe so. There is a recognition in the legislation that we have to go and meet the issue of problem gambling, and that the casinos have to. And the Gaming Commission will have almost like a division of employees who are going to be monitoring what casinos are doing to identify and assist problem gaming. It's not as big of a problem as the opponents of gaming say it is, but nevertheless, the issue can be said, and I'll be the first to say it, even if it's one person, that's one too many. So I think that there are the necessary precautions and the recognition in the bill that we're going to dedicate a significant sum of resources to deal with the problem. Understand, there are a lot of seniors that enjoy going to gaming facilities because of the occupation of time and their point in life. Massachusetts is a state that derives a very vibrant tourism dollar, and on the rainy days, coming to the Cape, they'll take a day trip to southeastern Mass, and the same can be said in Boston. I mean, we got people from all over the world visiting Boston 12 months out of the year. I know, I see them in the State House coming, I hear the languages that they speak. I'm confident that the market is here, and that the level of investment that the casinos will make it a destination attraction, and it will be a net plus to the Commonwealth. And I think that we've delayed long enough, so I'm just hopeful that we'll see 3 casinos successfully bid within the next 18 months.
Representative Koczera, in the time that we have remaining here, if I hear you correctly, there's going to be a casino in southeastern Massachusetts, and there's talk about the slot parlor likely being in southeastern Massachusetts. This area could clearly benefit in terms of 2 sites, employing people, generating income. Is that slot parlor that you hear so much about? Raynham as an example, or Taunton. Is that pretty much set that slot parlor is going to be in our region here along with a casino?
That's where the focus has been. Understand that a slot parlor is a totally different facility than a casino, and what we're looking to attract in a casino is far different from the slot facility. And in the end, it'll depend on the bid and who bids and who makes it. Obviously, Raynham and Plain Ridge will be bidding, but there could be a surprise. But it will have a market, and it is something that represents a compromise in the legislation. I don't know that it would be oversaturated. I've been told that we can have 3 casinos here, and then New Hampshire could even build, and the market would be such that New Hampshire would be extremely seasonal.
Could the slot parlor have a hotel connected to it under existing law?
I believe so. The thing is who's going to make that level of investment? A slot facility is far different than a casino, and the 3 casinos are set by law. We're not, you know, one of the things, and can't predict what will happen 10 or 20 years down the road, but hopefully we're not going to see a situation develop where we morph the slot parlor into a 4th casino. I don't see that as happening. I think the governor's expressing concerns that if we legalize 3 and don't do something for the Indians, and they somehow manage to come in under IGRA, we have the 4th. But you know, the backers for the Indians would take a look and say, well, how much can the market bear? And so I think these considerations, you know, come into play, as does the level of bidding. There's an active bidding in Western Mass because it's wide open. In Southeastern Mass, it'll depend on what will happen with the Indian gaming compact, and after that, you know, we'll see. And then, of course, we have the situation with Kraft and Wynn bidding, and then Suffolk Downs and Caesars bidding for the Boston, East Boston location.
The Suffolk Downs location, yeah.
In the last minute and a half, just clarify, the Gaming Commission, once these are up and running and the initial regulations and rules have been established, I mean, is this a permanent Gaming Commission?
Yes.
Are they fixed-term seats?
Yes.
Or, okay, so
they're initially given 5-year terms. I believe they might be limited to no more than 2 years. Steve Crosby's already indicated that after 2 or 3 years he will not. He'll resign his position. The Gaming Commission has a very important role, and that role will be to monitor and provide oversight on the operations of all these the 3 casinos and the slot parlor.
with the legislature watching over it.
With the legislature seeing that the money spent on behalf of the good of the Commonwealth.
Representative Koczera from New Bedford, Mass., we want to thank you for coming on Commonwealth Politics and helping us better understand the casinos that will be coming to Massachusetts. So for Mark Kemper,
Look forward to seeing you next time
on Commonwealth Politics.
Leadership development, professional goal attainment, personal satisfaction. If you're employed in the public or nonprofit sectors and are aspiring to the next level of performance, the nationally accredited Master of Public Administration program at Bridgewater State University will get you there. Visit the university's website for more information.